There comes a moment in life when everything you thought was certain is suddenly gone. The job you gave years to, the relationship you built your heart upon, the comfort you thought was permanent. It disappears, and in that silence, you are left with nothing but yourself. At first, the weight feels unbearable. You feel shattered, as if the ground beneath you has been pulled away. But this emptiness is not the end. It is the beginning. When everything falls apart, you are given the chance to see what truly remains. Beneath the loss, beneath the pain, there is a self that cannot be taken away. That self is stronger than any storm. The world can strip you of possessions, titles, and recognition, but it can never take away your will to rise again. Rebuilding is not about replacing what was lost. It's about rediscovering who you truly are. It's about stepping into a new version of yourself. One that is no longer tied to what was, but open to what can be. Every setback is a hidden teacher. Every ending is a doorway disguised as destruction. You may feel broken, but remember, broken pieces can be rearranged into something far more beautiful. A mosaic is made of fragments, yet it becomes art. Your life too can become art if you choose to create with the pieces. When loss strikes, it shakes the very foundation of who we believe we are and what we hold dear. It feels like the end, like everything has collapsed, and there is no way forward. Yet what often appears as the final chapter is, in truth, the opening page of a new story. Loss clears away what was familiar, what was comfortable, and what we thought would always remain. It forces us into an unfamiliar space, and while that space may feel frightening, it is also fertile. It is an empty field waiting for new seeds to be planted. In the silence that follows loss, we are given a chance to reflect on what truly matters. We begin to see that much of what we held on to was never permanent in the first place. Relationships change, careers shift, possessions come and go, and even our identities evolve over time. The pain of losing them is real, but so too is the possibility hidden within that pain. When you reach the point where everything you relied upon has slipped through your fingers, you stand in front of an open door. That door leads to a different version of yourself, one that might never have been discovered if not for the collapse of the old life. Loss pushes us into growth, into resilience, into self-discovery. It strips us of illusions and reveals the strength that was always within, but perhaps never tested. The moment you stop looking at what you no longer have and instead ask, "What can I create from here?" you shift from despair to hope. Beginnings are rarely comfortable because they are filled with uncertainty and demand courage. But beginnings are also alive with potential. The soil of loss is rich because it has been watered by pain. And from that soil, new life can grow. You may not yet know what shape it will take, but every day you continue. You are building something unseen. Each step, no matter how small, plants the seeds of a future that can become greater than what was left behind. The end you fear may actually be the gift you needed. Loss is not the conclusion of your story. but the rewriting of it with deeper wisdom, greater compassion, and a strength you never knew you had. Life has a way of testing us in moments we least expect. Everything we build can be swept away in an instant. Our careers, our relationships, our plans, even our sense of stability. In those moments, it feels as though the ground has crumbled beneath our feet, leaving nothing but chaos and uncertainty. Yet, beneath the storm, something within you remains untouched. That core, your true self, is unshaken by the shifting circumstances of life. It is not defined by your possessions, your successes, or the roles you play in the world. It exists beyond the noise, beyond the rise and fall of external events, and it carries a quiet strength that cannot be taken away. When loss and disappointment strip away the layers you once identified with, what is left is the essence of who you truly are. That essence is resilient. It has survived every challenge you've faced up until this moment. And it continues to endure. The world may change around you, but that deeper self is constant. It doesn't crumble when titles are lost. It doesn't vanish when relationships end. And it doesn't weaken when material things are gone. It stands steady like the roots of a tree beneath the surface, unshaken by the winds that bend its branches. The realization of this truth brings a powerful shift in perspective. Instead of seeing yourself as defined by what you lose, you begin to see yourself as defined by what cannot be lost. Strength, courage, wisdom, love, and awareness. These are not external possessions, but inner qualities. They belong to you in every season of life. Even when stripped of everything else, you still have the ability to choose how you respond, to create again, to rise, and to walk forward. That choice is born from the unshaken self that lives within you. The storms of life are not meant to destroy you, but to reveal this unbreakable part of your being. They peel away what is temporary so you can discover what is eternal. When you realize that your true self cannot be broken, fear loses its grip. You no longer cling desperately to things outside of you because you know that your foundation is not in them, but in the strength of who you are. And in that knowing, you find the courage to rebuild, the faith to keep moving, and the peace to stand tall, no matter what life takes away. Rebuilding after loss is never simply about putting the pieces back together in the exact shape they once were. It is not about recreating the past or trying to return to what was familiar. True rebuilding is an act of rediscovery, a journey into a deeper understanding of who you are and what truly matters to you. When life as you knew it collapses, you are left with a blank canvas, and on that canvas, you have the chance to paint something entirely new. This process is not about reclaiming what slipped away, but about uncovering parts of yourself that may have been hidden, neglected, or forgotten. In the chaos of everyday living, people often become so consumed with roles, responsibilities, and routines that they lose touch with their authentic selves. They identify so strongly with their job titles, relationships, possessions, or achievements that when those things vanish, They feel as though their very identity has been erased. But in truth, loss removes the distractions and reveals the essence of who you are underneath it all. Rebuilding then becomes less about recovery and more about self-discovery. It is a chance to ask questions you may have avoided before. What do I really value? What kind of life do I truly want to live? Who am I when everything else is stripped away? Every step in the process of rebuilding uncovers answers to those questions. As you make new choices and take new paths, you discover strengths you never realized you had. You tap into creativity born from necessity, courage forged in uncertainty, and resilience shaped by hardship. Slowly, you begin to realize that what you are creating is not a replica of the old, but a more authentic version of the new. You are no longer bound by what once defined you. Instead, you are free to define yourself. This rediscovery is what makes rebuilding so powerful. Out of the ruins of what was, you do not simply rebuild a structure. You rebuild yourself. You find clarity where once there was confusion, purpose where once there was aimlessness, and depth where once there was surface living. The process may be slow and filled with challenges, but with every decision and every step forward, you come closer to living a life that aligns with your true essence. In rediscovering yourself, you not only rebuild a life, you create one that holds greater meaning, authenticity, and strength than the one you lost. Brokenness often feels like the end of everything we once believed in. When something shatters, whether it is our plans, our relationships, or our sense of security, we tend to see only the destruction, the jagged edges, and the emptiness left behind. It is painful to stand among the ruins of what once felt whole, and the instinct is to mourn what can never return to the way it was. Yet hidden within that brokenness is the potential for something extraordinary, something even more beautiful than what existed before. Just as shattered glass can be reshaped into a mosaic and fractured stone can be carved into art, the fragments of our lives can be rearranged into a masterpiece that holds greater depth and meaning than what was lost. The beauty of brokenness lies in the transformation it inspires. When we are whole and untouched, we often take our stability for granted. But when life breaks us open, it strips away illusions and forces us to confront who we truly are. It softens us, humbles us, and deepens our capacity to feel compassion for others. Through the cracks of our own pain, we begin to see the struggles of those around us more clearly. We recognize the fragility of life and learn to treasure it in ways we never did before. In that sense, brokenness refines us. It makes us more human, more tender, and more connected to the essence of living. Many cultures and philosophies speak of turning brokenness into beauty. For example, in the Japanese art of kintsugi, cracked pottery is repaired with gold, leaving the marks of breakage visible, but transformed into something uniquely beautiful. The object is not restored to its original state. It becomes more valuable because of its history. Our lives work the same way. The scars we carry do not diminish us, they enrich us. They remind us of what we have endured and reveal the resilience that allowed us to rise again. When you look at your brokenness not as the end, but as a canvas for transformation, you begin to see possibilities instead of despair. Each fragment of your life can be placed with intention, creating a design that tells a story of survival, growth, and strength. The beauty does not come in spite of the brokenness, but because of it. What was once shattered becomes a testament to your ability to create meaning from pain and to transform loss into something enduring and full of light. When life feels overwhelming, the idea of changing everything at once can seem impossible. In those moments, it is easy to believe that progress requires massive leaps, grand gestures, or instant transformation. But the truth is, lasting change is rarely born from sudden breakthroughs. It is built quietly, patiently, and steadily through small, consistent steps. Each choice, each action, no matter how small, sets a chain of movement into place. Like drops of water carving through stone, small steps may appear insignificant at first, yet over time they create deep and lasting transformation. The power of small steps lies in their accessibility. Anyone can take one step, even when the journey ahead feels impossible. When everything seems broken or uncertain, focusing on the next small action keeps you from being paralyzed by the enormity of the bigger picture. A single phone call, a short walk, a few words written on a page, or a moment of self-reflection can all be beginnings. Those actions may feel trivial, but they carry the momentum that makes change possible. By taking one step today, you set yourself up for another tomorrow. And gradually you build a path toward the life you envision. Small steps also create habits, and habits shape character. Repetition builds strength in ways that sudden effort never can. Just as a seed planted in the ground grows slowly into a towering tree, your small efforts grow quietly into resilience, discipline, and clarity. Over time, you look back and realize the distance you've traveled was not crossed in leaps, but in countless steady steps forward. Each moment of effort compounds into something greater, and eventually, you discover that transformation has already taken root within you. There is also comfort in small steps, because they remind us that change does not demand perfection. You do not have to have everything figured out before you begin. You do not need to see the entire road ahead. All you need is to take the step in front of you, trusting that it will lead to the next. With patience and persistence, small steps carry you from despair to hope, from confusion to clarity, and from weakness to strength. In time, you come to realize that it was never the single great act that changed your life, but the accumulation of small, faithful steps that carried you toward becoming who you were meant to be. When everything familiar crumbles and life feels reduced to ashes, it is natural to feel powerless. The ruins of what once mattered most seem to leave nothing but emptiness, a silence filled with grief and unanswered questions. Yet within those ashes lies the potential for something new, something stronger than what existed before. Fire may consume, but it also refines. What remains after the burning is not weakness, but the raw material of resilience, waiting to be shaped into strength. Strength born from ashes is not the kind that comes easily or quickly. It is forged in pain, in loss, and in the deep silence of starting over. When life strips you down to nothing, you are forced to discover resources within yourself you never knew existed. The very act of rising after devastation awakens courage. It is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward in spite of it. Each time you rise, even in small ways, you prove to yourself that you are greater than the circumstances that try to destroy you. The beauty of rising from ashes is that the strength you gain is lasting. It is not borrowed from external validation or dependent on circumstances. It is rooted in survival, in endurance, in the lessons carved into your spirit by hardship. This strength carries a quiet power. It does not need to announce itself because it is evident in the way you keep going when others might have given up. It shows in your patience, in your ability to adapt, and in the newfound wisdom that guides your choices. From ashes comes a deeper appreciation of life itself. When you have lost and risen again, you learn not to take the ordinary for granted. The smallest blessings become precious. A sunrise, a kind word, a new opportunity. These become reminders that even after destruction, life continues to offer beauty. The ashes remind you of what has ended, but the strength that rises reminds you that endings are also beginnings. No one chooses to be broken down, yet those who endure the fire and rise again carry a strength that cannot be manufactured any other way. It is a strength etched into the soul, a strength that transforms despair into hope and turns ruins into a foundation for something greater. From the ashes of loss, you rise, not weaker, not the same, but stronger than you ever imagined you could be. So, remember this: losing everything does not mean you are lost. It means life has given you the chance to begin again, to rebuild not the same life you had before, but a stronger, truer, more meaningful one. Every ending carries the seed of a new beginning. Every broken piece can be shaped into beauty, and every setback is a reminder of the strength that still lives within you. You are not defined by what you have lost, but by the courage with which you rise. From the ashes, you will not only stand, you will soar.